Welcome to a new episode of Triggre Weekend Masterclass, and today I am going to explain you how you can test scheduled triggers. Scheduled triggers are often used in relation to a certain date, a current date or a date half a year ago or tomorrow, and that makes it a little bit harder to test, because that would mean that you sometimes have to wait half a year to see the end result. And that's a little bit tough when you try to create your functionality. The other way is to change the logic or the data within your application to execute the test, which is undesirable as well, because you want to have the application and the data inside to remain the same. So I'm going to show you a little trick how to test your scheduled triggers. I've made some preparations, and in the designer I've already created a automation flow which sends the reminder. As you can see, it's a scheduled trigger which runs recurringly every day, only weekdays at 9 o'clock, and we execute the flow part send reminder. In the send reminder, we check if the order that we have created has received a reminder before, or has received a reminder at least 7 days ago. And if that's the case, we're going to send that person an email. Well, what you normally would do, and I'm going to show you that within the flow part, is you would create a situation like this, where you say, add 7 days to the reminder sent on, and that needs to be smaller than the current date. And the current date is, of course, the date that the system provides you automatically. So that's like right now. However, by using the current date, you use a property that cannot be changed. So I advise you to use an input instead, and use that input to send out your reminder. How will that help you, you would say? Well, you can use the current date at the scheduled trigger itself to have exactly the same functionality. However, it allows you, when you test manually, to change the input and change it to a different date, so that the system acts as if it's a year later or 7 days later. So, what do I need to do? First of all, I need to add an input with a date to the flow part. I need to map that input in the scheduled trigger. And to be able to test this piece of functionality, I am going to add a page where I can fill out a date and trigger the send reminder flow part after that, using the date that I filled out. So that could be any date. That could be today, that could be last week, that could be in 6 months, doesn't matter. Like I said, at first I need to add an input to this flow part. And it's going to be a date time, and in this case I am going to call it date. Because if I would call it current date, it's going to be very complicated and confusing. So, and instead of stating over here, add 7 days to the reminder sent on is smaller than current date, I'm going to use the date of the input. Okay. Then, to complete this part, I'm going to go back to the automation flow. And I'm going to define the input of send reminder with the current date. So, the functionality itself works exactly the same. So now I'm going to add the page and process to be able to test this piece of functionality. So I'm going to, in this case, orders, because it's linked to orders. And I'm going to add a button and page called test. Okay, test. Add a new page. And it's important here to add a form field with a date, because you're going to need that date in order to execute the send reminder flow part. Okay. This is required. Don't want to prefill it. Okay. Execute. Test. Submit the form fields. And I'm going to add the send reminder flow part to it. Send reminder. And as a date, I'm not going to use the current date as I did with the automation flow, but I'm going to use the date that I've defined on the page itself. Okay. So we're going to publish this application. Okay, the application has been published. And what you see here is we've got 2 orders and we haven't sent a reminder yet. So if we would say, okay, we're going to test this, we can say like, okay, today, execute test. And for both items, I will receive an email. And as you can see here, the reminder was sent on the 19th. If I would execute this test again on using the date of today, nothing will happen because, like I said, it only sends a reminder if none have been sent yet or if it's been 7 days ago. So what I could do is I would like to know if this reminder will be sent next week. So I can state like, okay, the date is not today, but it's going to be the 27th in this case. Execute the test. And then I should receive another 2 emails with a reminder. Functionality, everything stays the same, exactly the same, just the date that you use as an input. It's a great way to test your scheduled triggers. Do you want to have another tip or trick next week? Like and subscribe to our channel.